And this, allegedly, is his British controller, since expelled from Russia. But if the accusations against Obukov are true, he was a strange choice of spy. The son of a Russian ambassador, he was a junior foreign ministry official, but he was also a writer of trashy spy thrillers, and according to his family, has a history of mental instability. After his arrest, Obukov was paraded on television wearing a dunce's hat. That was interpreted as a Russian security service jibe at their rivals in British intelligence. But today in court, his family's lawyer argued that he is suffering from schizophrenia and should not stand trial. Afterwards, his mother even accused British intelligence of taking advantage of a sick man.
They knew from the very beginning that he was mentally ill, and they used a mentally ill person.
But the prosecutor says Obukov was sane enough when he spied and should take the consequences. A former officer in the KGB's London station says it's all part of the cut and thrust of intelligence warfare, which is still going on.
It's a kind of a boxing match. You know, you punch somebody, but you expect to be punched. And it's an exchange of punches.
In spite of Obukov's apparent mental instability, the Russian security service, which is still based here in the old KGB headquarters, seems determined to make an example of him. They say that he will stand trial as soon as he recovers. And if that happens, the former foreign ministry official and thriller writer could yet be looking at a long spell in a Russian prison. Julian Mannion, News at 10, Moscow.
Join us after the break for more news. But often hidden risk to public health. Let's fight the battle of the sewers. Although the days of the plague are long gone, rats still carry serious disease. And as Richard Lindley reports, they still have the power to give us a nasty shock.
My friend was running a bath and she bent down to pick something up. She looked very near the bowl, and at that very moment she saw a rat coming up out through the bowl and actually start to climb up the bowl.
Tina and her friend drove the rat back down the lavatory, but what was an unusual but by no means unique event remains an unhappy memory.
I think we've lost trust and faith in our loo.
In this London borough of Kensington and Chelsea, complaints about rats have doubled over the past decade. The pest control team warns that damaged drains make it easy for rats to get into our homes.
From here, they will just walk up that branch because the cap is off. They will put their back against that pipe, and if the toilet lid is up on the WC, they will see the light shining through the water.
Rats start to breed just 3 months after they're born, and at the end of a year, a pair of them can produce a colony 2,000 strong. If we ever stop trying to get rid of rats in Britain, then one long hot summer could mean 1 billion rats. That's nearly 20 of them to every one of us.
Tame rats are one thing, but in the wild, rats can carry a potentially fatal disease.
If you can imagine like a hammer inside your head all the time, it was absolutely unbearable.
Through a cut finger, Colin Dicker picked up Weil's disease. Spread in rats' urine, it attacks the liver and kidneys.
I could have died. Quite honestly, yes, I could have died. And I was very lucky.
Rats have teeth sharp enough to cut through mild steel, so plastic pipes are potentially vulnerable. Blocked sewers cleared by water jets at too high a pressure can develop holes that rats can get a purchase on. That's one of the concerns raised by this report from the Robins Institute at Surrey University.
I mean, 30% is normal for a postal survey, but...
The report is based on a survey of local councils in 3 different regions.
Over half the environmental health departments responding to our survey say that the number of rat infestations is increasing. And this confirms the findings of a national survey reported 2 years ago. And this clearly has important implications for public health.
I'm all for modern technology.
But round the country, privatised water companies are no longer prepared to go on paying the local councils the money they say they need to keep the rat population in the sewers under control.
If you look down there, you can see some rat droppings in the corner.
Yorkshire Water, for example, will soon be getting rid of Sheffield Council sewermen and putting their job out to contract.
What we're worried about is the population of rats in the sewers getting out of hand. It's as simple as that. We're here to protect the public health. The last thing we want is to have major problems with rats emerging onto the surface through lack of proper baiting programs carried out below ground.
The water companies say they'll keep the rats under control more efficiently than it's been done in the past, but there are no agreed standards yet on how best to do it. While the arguments go on, more and more rats could emerge from the sewers to threaten our health and happiness. Richard Lindley, News at 10, Sheffield.
But it could be a giant leap for mankind. Having mastered the microchip, Japanese scientists have now turned their skills to producing something a little larger. Caroline Kerr reports.
It looks like something from science fiction. It's dressed like an astronaut in a spacesuit. It's called P2, the latest robot from Japan. Unlike its less sophisticated predecessors, P2 can walk upstairs on its own. It doesn't need continuous remote control or detailed instructions, only a simple initial command. P2 weighs more than 30 stone and at full stretch measures 6 foot. If it's pushed, it can correct its balance and change direction, again making the decision on its own. The robot can do a number of tasks requiring 2 hands, and eventually might be able to carry out jobs that are too strenuous for human beings. But unlike the robots of science fiction, it hasn't got a mind of its own and is only doing what it's told. It may seem clever, but its manufacturers insist that in reality, they're the ones who call the tune. Caroline Kerr, News at 10.
From a real newscaster, that's the news. Good night.